Hello, it's Dawn Michelle from Boho Tarot, and today I am doing the final 5 prompts for Ethany's 31 Days of Tarot 2019. So since we're getting ready to wrap this up, let's go ahead and jump right in. So question number 27 for day 27 is, how do you pick your tarot decks for readings? So for me, I swap my decks out monthly, and they tend to adhere to a certain theme or project or process that I'm currently working on. So in January, my deck for the month was the Tarot of the Sidhe. In February, I'm going to be moving into working with my Tarot of Transformation, and I just have to do a little shout out to Lisa at Supportive Tarot for letting me know that this deck is not out of print. I have totally thought this deck was out of print, and she pointed me in the right direction to getting it, and it has just really made my month because I have been looking for this deck for a long time. That's pretty much how I pick my tarot decks. I basically do them in groups by month according to whatever it is I'm working on or working towards in that month. So question number 28 is, what is your go-to tarot book and why? So truth be told, I really don't use my books all that often, except for in the case of when I'm doing a deep dive into a deck, and then I will use the book that came with it as I'm, learning the deck, getting to know the deck, and really diving deep into it. Those would be the books that I use the most and would be considered my go-to, but only as I'm deep diving and working with the deck. For just regular tarot books, the two that I probably love the most is 78 Degrees of Wisdom by Rachel Pollack. I think this is just like, I don't know, it's kind of like my little tarot Bible. And then for my Pip style decks or my Marseille decks, I'd have to say Tarot and The Untold Tarot. It's a beautiful book. It's very well written. It's very well put together, and has a lot of great information, particularly if you're just learning to read Marseille or starting to work with pips or work more numerologically with the cards, and I think that is a fabulous one. So those would be my top 2 or my go-to tarot books. So question number 29 is, how do you feel about tarot deck modifications? I am a huge fan of tarot deck modifications, and I'm not going to go into too much detail because I actually have a whole video on that on my channel, but I will go ahead and link that below. The short answer is, I think that deck modifications are a fantastic way to not only bond with a deck, but to take a deck that is difficult to use, such as the Star Tarot, for example. This deck was huge, had huge borders, and it was very difficult for me to work with. I did trim it down all the way around, and again, I have a video on that too, and I edged it in this kind of silvery stamp. I don't know if that will show up or not, but my point for modifying this deck was because it was very large and very hard for me to work with. That is the main reason why I will trim a deck. Now, I have also done, this is my Mary L, which has also been featured on my channel before. I have also done rebackings on decks. So this one has been completely trimmed. And again, if you want to find out more about that, that's in my deck mod video. I have edged it and I have rebacked it. It was super, super slippery because it is, as we all know, it's shiffer, it's that high gloss. So working with it, it was sliding all around. So I rebacked it in order to give it just a little bit of grip so it didn't slide around so much on me. This is my Druid Craft, and again, another deck that I trimmed because the borders were super huge. Now, the difference with this deck is that I've actually started adding paint to these cards, which I think that was a part of the question too, is like, do you write on your cards? I do write on my cards when I feel the need to, when I feel it adds to my ability to be able to work with the cards. I have added paint, various colors. The gold seems to be showing up, but it's all metallic paint, and it's gold and it's green, and there's reds and blues. Added a lot of detail to his his little cape here, or his cloak, and into the bushes. Like, it's really hard to tell. I will show this deck once I'm finished, and I'm gonna have to find a better way to do this. But for this one, it's really, the detail is really all in the greenery there and the wheel. As you can see, the light catches it now. So really, this is, there's no real reason for that. It's strictly for aesthetics, strictly because it's pretty and I like it. That's the whole reason why I did that one. And this is the Crystal Tarot, which I've also shown on my channel. And this one I trimmed because it's a low Scarabeo deck, so it had those multiple languages around the borders. And this is a really busy deck. I mean, I love the artwork in this deck. Like, I think it's absolutely gorgeous, but it is really busy. And when you put all of those multiple languages on top of that, I just found it really distracting, and it made the deck kind of hard to work with. So I just trimmed them all off. It made it this cute little pocket sized, and I trimmed it or edged it in bronze. Again, this is a deck that I've shown. I think I've shown all of these on my channel at some point, but so that's just kind of a little sneak peek. I do have a lot of other modified decks, and I will create a separate video for that because I, don't want to make this one too terribly long, and I could make it a really long video if I talked about all my deck mods. So question number 30 is, do you carry out predictive tarot readings? Yes, no, and why? So for me, so while I'm talking, I might as well just put these away. So for me, I do predictive readings on occasion, but it's not really my go-to, not my standard. Most of my readings are for growth, reflection, shadow work, inner work, that kind of thing, personal development. So I don't really do too much in the way of predictive reading. I do occasionally pull cards, looking for an outcome or to help me make a decision, but that would be about the extent of it. Number 31, what questions do you most often ask the tarot for yourself and for others? For me, let's just look at the Marielle while I'm talking. So for me, the two questions that I most often ask the tarot for myself are, what message do you have for me in this moment? And what do I need to know about, fill in the blank. So for me, those are the two questions that I ask the most. But the reading that I do the most is the one that I talked about in the last video, which is my check-in. That's the reading that I do most of the time, in terms of also what question do I ask the most. As far as readings for others, I don't do a ton of readings for others at this point, but most of the time when I get requests for readings from others, it does have a lot of tendency to be relationship questions, work questions, kind of everyday life questions. My favorites are when I can do the general check-in, though. Those are just my favorites because I like to let the cards, provide their own message. I don't always necessarily like to dictate, what question the cards answer. Sometimes the cards answer the question that needs to be answered, and maybe it's not a question that you even know needs to be answered. So that's my kind of long rambly rant on that one, is I'm just, randomly throwing down cards because why not? So there we have it. We have finished all 31 days of Ethany's 31 Days of Tarot 2019. I have to say, so this is my first year ever doing it, and it was a lot of fun to do these prompts, but even better than that was all of the wonderful channels that I have found, all of the wonderful connections that I have made, and I have really enjoyed seeing everyone else's answers to these questions. I think for me, that has been the best part of this whole experience. So I definitely look forward to doing it again, and I thank you for joining me on this whole 31 Days of Tarot adventure. I will have more videos coming soon. Thank you for joining me today, and I will see you again soon for more creative tarot for an inspired life.